Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. We have more updates on crypto, more specifically XRP, Ripple, and we're going to be taking a look at the price charts for Bitcoin and XRP. So let's go ahead and get started. First up, the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, we're sitting at 23. This is a little bit higher than what we had yesterday, but we are still in the extreme fear territory. We're getting closer and closer towards that fear zone, but we've been seeing a lot of bouncing back and forth with this, even starting to push back towards almost single digits. Right now, Bitcoin's price, we're sitting at $62,500. We're starting to see a little bit of a rise. We do have a low here on the day at $61,870. We have a high at $64,165. So pretty good range. The actual volume yesterday had done quite well in comparison to the weekend. Even if we take into account Friday, it's substantially more on June 22nd. In fact, what we saw on Monday was quite close to what we saw on basically Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week. And not quite as much as what we saw on Monday, June 15th. But right now we're on track to likely surpassing this. And because we already saw a bottom wick formation here, price starting to climb a little bit, we might have an opportunity to see this try and fight for that zone, that Fibonacci retracement zone, $63,250. We're going to see where that lands. We do have a starting point yesterday in the green. It started to make some moves, and then here it's bouncing back down, or I should say dropping back down. So yeah, I'm not surprised that this is moving sideways. If we zoom out just a tad bit, you can see it's essentially consolidating here. There was a couple different technical indicators that overlapped. That was back on June 14th, suggesting an entry point of a long position. This is not a guaranteed thing. There's a lot of factors you do need to include as well. For example, what's going on with the United States and Iran, what's going on with Israel and Lebanon, and also what's going on with the stock market. And we'll be talking a little bit more about that as well. The stock market's not doing so great, but for Bitcoin as it is right now, it's essentially moving sideways. We got to see it try and break above $67,250 before it really makes some significant moves. You just look at this Bollinger Band, how much this ended up just starting to converge here. It really diverged back on June 1st. And after that very dramatic drop that took place, we've got what, 3, 6, 7, 8 days in a row of red candles before it then started to essentially move sideways, tried to recover a little bit, and then continue right across this median line of that Fibonacci retracement zone. And now that convergence taking place on the Bollinger Band is really, really tight. It's a very dramatic change. Would not be surprised if this goes sideways for a bit before it makes some moves, especially with what's going on as everyone waits for the approval, hopefully, of the Clarity Act. Now let's go and move on. Big news from Ripple themselves. More licensing momentum. Ripple has secured its preliminary crypto asset service provider, or CASP, license in Luxembourg, paving the way for the full rollout of Ripple payments across the EEA and full MiCA compliance. The next wave of regulated digital asset adoption in Europe is here, and it's powered by Ripple. And Cassie says, we have preliminary approval of our CASP license. Once fully approved, European banks, FIs, and fintechs will be able to access our end-to-end crypto asset and stablecoin payments infrastructure through a single regulated integration. The next wave of institutional digital asset adoption in Europe is here. And from Rippleziety, Ripple preliminary MiCA approval unlocks access to 30 European countries, over 450 million people, and a 18 trillion, what is that, euro? I think that's euro, economy. I keep forgetting which one's pound and euro. I think this is euro, and then the other one looks kind of like an L. And up next, Bank XRP. Europe didn't just open a door for Ripple, they opened the floodgates. MiCA Clarity hit different. Banks and fintechs stopped asking, when should we engage, and started asking, how do we scale? And Ripple just handed them the answer across all 30 EEA countries. The infrastructure is live. The licenses are stacked. And this is in reference to the CASP license we were just talking about. Smoke, they post on Twitter, Ripple also secured an electronic money institution license, or EMI, from Luxembourg's financial regulator. The license will expand XRP-based payments and cross-border settlement across EU markets. XRP and EU looking pretty good there. And we have Ripple, which created XRP, secured that EMI license from Luxembourg's financial regulator. Bull theory. So what's going on? Why is everything crashing today basically at the same time? They go on to say gold, silver, and tech stocks are all down together right now, which usually signals forced selling across markets. AI semiconductor deleveraging. We have South Korea's Kospi crash 10% today, triggering a circuit breaker for the second time this month. Samsung and SK Hynix both fell more than 12%. A local media report said SK Hynix is slowing down expansion of its newest chip and shifting focus to a lower priced commodity grade chip to cover a shortfall. For a company at the center of the AI memory boom, that reads as a signal that demand assumptions are being walked back. On top of that, Korean investors had been buying chip stocks with record amounts of borrowed money after regulators had already warned that the sector's rally had run too high. Once the selling started, that leverage forced even more selling, which is what turned this into a circuit breaker instead of a normal pullback. And quarter-end rebalancing. JP Morgan warned that quarter-end rebalancing could force up to $165 billion in equity selling worldwide. Big pension funds and sovereign wealth funds have to rebalance back to fixed stock to bond targets after a strong run in stocks. The window runs through June 30th, so we are still in the middle of it. A hawkish Fed. 9 of the Fed's 19 policymakers are projecting at least one rate hike this year, and markets are pricing a 70% chance of a hike by September. That alone raises the cost of holding risk right now. The USD, Japan, yen, and a possible yen intervention. This pairing here had violent wicks yesterday, the kind of move that shows up when Japan steps in to defend the yen. The pair was already sitting near levels where Japan has intervened before. If that is what happened, it disrupts the yen carry trade, where investors borrow cheap yen to fund positions in stocks and other assets globally. Unwinding that trade hits unrelated markets at the same time, which lines up with gold, silver, and stocks all dropping together today. The move was on the smaller side, so a confirmed intervention isn't certain, but it's the one thread connecting everything else here. And tech-specific weaknesses, the NASDAQ closed down 2.33% yesterday, and futures point to another 2.5% drop today. The Dow closed up 0.29% the same day, almost entirely from one stock, Caterpillar. SpaceX fell 16% yesterday, its third straight losing day, down from $176 to $154. Alphabet fell 5% on reports of AI talent leaving. Amazon, Meta, and Microsoft all fell with them. And from Xive Crypto, the entire crypto ETF market bled today. Well, kind of. Bitcoin down $68 million. Ethereum down $66 million. Nothing for Solana, nothing for Hype, but XRP, that's $5.31 million. Only one printing green inflows. And we're sitting at $993.29 million AUM, $6.71 million away from $1 billion. TikTok, let's go. Justin, another defining date for XRP has emerged as the House schedules a Clarity Act hearing for July 17th. XRP ledger development targets long-term resilience with 5 key upgrades. And June 22nd, 2026, Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs shed a combined $134 million in a single session. But then XRP spot ETFs absorbed $5.31 million in fresh institutional inflows. 0 outflows across all 5 funds. More than 50 crypto industry leaders will meet with U.S. senators today to advocate for the Clarity Act. XLM flips XRP in U.S. Treasury's real-world asset value, leading XRPL by nearly $1 billion. That's pretty wild. Ripple slashes RLUSD supply in massive burn wave. Ripple has burned $539 million worth of its RLUSD stablecoin over the past 30 days, according to on-chain data from Validator Vet's community tracker. Burns exceeded mints by more than $129 million during the same period. Most of the destruction happened between June 2nd and the 12th, making the longest intraday burn streak since RLUSD launched in December 2024. The single largest burn came on June 3rd when $75.1 million was incinerated in one day. And then we take a look at what's going on with XRP's price. We can see that it is red on the day. It's sitting at $1.10 while I'm recording this video. We're actually seeing it starting to drop. So Bitcoin was starting to make a little bit of a push up, and it's struggling here at under $62,400. XRP itself very much on the verge of being below $1.10. And as we wait here for a few seconds, we're looking to see how things try to fight it out. But more than likely, whatever is trying to dip down is being bought back up here right at $1.10. So we're seeing a flat line just a tad bit. Volume itself is looking like it's going to be passing what we had yesterday for June 22nd, especially with it right at $1.10 right now. I would expect volume to be going pretty wild. So we're going to have to see how that continues to play out. Let's go ahead and zoom out a tad bit while it's still trying to figure some things out there. And zoom that out even more. So we are on the Fibonacci retracement zone between $1.40 and 86 cents. We are below the median point, right? We're going to be sitting at right around $1.13 between these 2 points, but right now we are below that. Very key psychological level here at $1.10. So where this closes on the day is going to be a big factor, and how these buy and sell trades take place at this price point is also going to be very important. We can also see, like Bitcoin, the Bollinger Band got real wide, came in real tight here. We might see it start to go sideways for a bit, potentially trying to push between $1.10 and $1.15. May see some drops pushing close to $1 or maybe even briefly under $1, but if it does get underneath $1, I'm worried about long positions. It might flash crash down here, like I was mentioning, around 86 cents. So yeah, I'm not even seeing any movement now in the price. It's just sitting directly at $1.10, which is pretty wild. And I'll keep you guys updated. That's what I got in this video. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. And also thank you to my YouTube members. God bless, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.